I will introduce our guest now. Mr. Ashwini Kumar is the chairman of board of the trustees of Indus Quality Foundation (IQF). An engineer from BITS Pilani, he worked as a chief design engineer in bottling plant in Chennai, and then he went on to export Turkey's projects to Africa. Thereafter, responding to his inner call to serve humanity and to dedicate his life to mission of spiritual self-discovery, he renounced his flourishing enterprise and associated himself with the Dehradun branch of the worldwide Ramakrishna Mission more than 2 decades earlier. He is now engaged in research, educational and developmental work there to enable youth and students have access to spiritual knowledge and to arrive at spiritual meaning and purpose in life. Mr. Ashwani Kumar continues to offer his relentless service, unflagging commitment, especially in taking this initiative forward to the sizable population of economical marginalized children. The developmental work takes the form of regular school courses, short certificate courses, workshops, and production of creative DVDs on personality development. In the past 13 years of its existence, IQF, in association with several centers of Ramakrishna Mission, has reached out to about 350,000 students and teachers in over 22 cities in India. Sri Aurobindo once said, an integral education which could, with some variations, be adapted to all the nations of the world must bring back the legitimate authority of the spirit over the matter fully developed and utilized. We may say the IQF has no different vision than what Swami Vivekananda and Sri Aurobindo once had. Without any further delay, I invite Mr. Ashwin Kumar to the stage for the most awaited lecture of the evening. We will have the question answer session after this speech. Also, our volunteers are distributing the Call to the Nation book, which will be referred by the speaker during the speech. So, please, sir.
Revered Swami Atmashraddhananji Maharaj, Shri Kalmakarji, Shri Balaji, and dear friends. It's a great privilege to come to IIT and talk to you people. We have a very small board of governors at IQF. So when they heard, and 3 of them are from IIT Delhi. So when they heard that I am coming here to address IIT Madras, they were very thrilled. And they wish me good luck. So I hope that good luck stands me in good stead. So I'll begin this talk, and the topic is Quest for Excellence in Education. This is a personal quest. So please understand that I'm going to trace a personal quest and share with you what has been my learning in the process. So it's not really a lecture, it's kind of a sharing where if you think you can profit by it, I'll be very happy. See, this quest actually began in 1967 when I cleared my Indian school certificate examination. And I wanted to do agriculture. And my mother, felt that agriculture is done by people who get 40% marks. Now you got 76% marks. Why should you do agriculture? I tried to tell her that this is what I like. So she was very dogmatic and very adamant, and she said, no, you will go to BITS Pilani because you are eligible for admission there. I tried to protest, but she just said, look, I pay, so I call the shots. So I landed up in BITS Pilani, and I found the atmosphere a little disturbing. Because what I found was that the students there were not interested in knowledge. They were just interested in getting the degree and the marks. And the whole thing, was highlighted by an event that took place. You have the lectures and you have tutorials. And we had this tutorial in physics, and this teacher did 10 numericals. Next day was an exam, and all the 10 numericals came. So I was wondering, is this what college is all about? And I felt that this is just not right. So I was so disturbed that I went to the head of the department and I said, "What is this college? You do 10 numericals in a tutorial and the next day in the exam these come?" So he also was a little disturbed. What is this? So he took my copy and they conducted a raid. In the sense, they collected the copies of the entire class. And the class, got to learn about this. So we had a class of 90 in my electrical engineering batch. So 82 students had torn the pages. So they had not yet encountered a single copy when they were doing this, where those pages which I said claimed were done in the tutorials were there. So for the first time and possibly the only time in my life I haven't slept at night was that day कि मुझे तो स्कूल कॉलेज से निकाल देंगे, they'll throw me out of the college. You have accused a teacher. But thank God there were 8 students, who had those numericals in their copy. So I wasn't thrown out. The teacher had to be thrown out of the college. So the incident goes to highlight the fact that the obsession in the college was not knowledge. The obsession in the college was grabbing a degree and getting marks. And that really disturbed me because, see, Pilani is not like Chennai or Delhi where you're in the heart of town. You're almost 250 kilometers from any major town at that time. And I was so disturbed that when I was the secretary of the English Debating Society, I organized a debate in our museum lawns saying Pilani is dead. See, because it was dead to the basic purpose of learning. And that's when the quest actually started. That why is college like this? And why is this happening? And you can imagine when you are in a college where the basic objective is learning and your obsession is not learning, then what happens? You all know what happens. So you are all in college. But this was the quest that started. And this quest spanned 17 years, that is 67 to 84. I mean, that's when I came in contact with Swami Vivekananda and his thinking. So till then it was a quest. So, I read and I just thought about J. Krishnamurti, Ivan Illich, John Holt. All these are good authors to look at even now. Paul Goodman. I mean, like Ivan Illich actually said, you don't need schools in a society. John Dewey, Mahatma Gandhi, Rabindranath Tagore. And finally, by God's grace, I hit upon Swami Vivekananda. So as I said, this is not a lecture and we'll definitely have a question and answer session. So you welcome all the questions that come. Now Swamiji said this, and the result is that 50 years of this education has not produced one original man in the 3 presidencies. That was Madras presidency, Bombay presidency and Bengal presidency, practically 3/4 of the country. Every man of originality that has been produced has been educated elsewhere and not in the country. Or they have gone to the old universities once more to cleanse themselves of superstitions. So we're looking at this, and this is very relevant today. So we're making an assumption that Nobel Prize Committee awards original thinkers of international standing. I mean, there can be questions on this, that it's not the ultimate or the best, but just for the purpose of a discussion, we are assuming this, and it's not a very bad assumption. In 115 years, Indian universities couldn't produce one original man. The first Nobel Prize was awarded in 1901. From inception till 2011, 549 prizes given. USA backs 349, India backs 10. Indian prize winners, Ronald Ross, Rudyard Kipling, these are 10 prizes. Only C.V. Raman is a product of Indian colleges of British times. The rest either did not attend an Indian college, Rabindranath Tagore did not attend an Indian college, he went to London, or did their creative studies abroad. Swami Vivekananda made the above statement in 1897. In 115 years after the statement was made, After C.V. Raman, Indian universities have not produced another Nobel Prize winner. So this, makes one think that what is happening? What is happening in our universities? And why? Why is it like this? Because India was a great contributor to world thought. Zero, decimal, pi, trigonometry, algebra, geometry, to mention just a few, were concepts given by India. Manufacture of zinc and rust-free iron were Indian technologies. They say the iron pillar in Bangalore was made by tribals to welcome Shankaracharya. Nalanda and Taxila were possibly the earliest global universities. Will Durant, a leading Western historian, in his book Case for India, says that India is mother of us all. According to Will Durant, when the British came to India, whether philosophy, science, technology, commerce, banking, textiles, jewelry, porcelain, in all these and many more fields, India was a world leader. So we have produced original thinkers in practically every field of endeavor. And in 115 years, we have not produced one. Now, what made this possible? To answer this question, we are putting forward a hypothesis, a tentative explanation for a phenomena to be used as a basis for further investigation. So I'm not saying that this is it. I'm just saying this is a quest. So we're now going to put forward insights that we think made it possible for India to produce original thinkers in possibly every field of endeavor. Now, for learning to take place, you need the right environment. It is the key thing. I mean, that's what actually got me rattled in Pilani. Just the environment was not there. So learning took place in the company of an enlightened rishi in Brahmacharya ashram till the age of 25 years. For the teacher, pursuit of knowledge was not a profession, but a passion. Teacher had love for knowledge. The student who entered the ashram had his priorities right. Very critical, this aspect. Very critical. Student was a vidyarathi. Vidyarathi, not a sukh-arathi. Was desirous of knowledge and not in pursuit of pleasure. So environment is the key. By God's grace, you have a beautiful environment. I mean, you are in a reserve forest. So it's unbelievable. A natural environment encourages curiosity, exploration, and communication. Teacher sets the tone. That's the key. You can't run away from that. His passion for learning energizes, sustains, and nurtures the learning environment. Student has to be knowledge-driven. Vidyarathi, and not pleasure-driven, sukharthi. In fact, there is a Sanskrit shloka, because I'm not very good at Sanskrit, so sukharthi na kuto vidya, vidyarthi na kuto sukham, sukharthi va tyajyet vidya, vidyarthi va tyajyet sukham, which means sukharthi na kuto vidya. For a person who's seeking pleasure, how can he possibly have knowledge? Vidyarthi na kuto sukham. And if you are seeking knowledge, then how possibly are you going to have pleasure? So sukhyarthi va tyajyet vidya. If you are going to pursue pleasure, then forget about knowledge. Vidyarthi va tyajyet sukham. And if you're going to pursue vidya, you forget pleasure. Now, why 25 years of brahmacharya ashram in secluded natural environment with close monitoring and careful guidance? Many say today, I've come across very, very responsible parents saying this. Let the young generation do what they're doing. Maybe they're right. Modern neurology is discovering what the rishis possibly knew. Neuroimaging techniques developed over the last decades have provided us with astounding discoveries regarding brain changes during adolescence. We know, for example, that the emotional reactivity, impulsivity, and risk-taking of the teen years are directly associated with the neural remodeling processes that begins around 12 or 13 years of age. Brain imaging studies have changed our understanding of adolescence as we reassess what's behind the recklessness, thoughtlessness, and carelessness of teens. Behaviors once attributed to raging hormones or self-centeredness now appear also to be tied to brain development during adolescence. Research in this area suggests that quite often teens aren't intentionally making bad choices and decisions. Rather, under certain circumstances, there may be no real decision making happening at all, particularly when they are excited and hyped up. Teen is vulnerable. Ultimately, by the time of maturation, around age 22 for females and 24 for males, note, they said 25 years. The modern research says 24 years for males. Mental capacity has expanded exponentially, but in the meantime, teens often need their parents to think with them and sometimes for them. This is what you call from a book called Getting to Calm, which actually all parents should read. So teens need secluded environment, personal guidance and mentoring because it is a biological, physiological and neurological necessity. For original thinkers to blossom, you need an environment that fosters, encourages and supports learning. Once this is taken care of, let us look at the elements that went into cultivating original thinkers. Now, fundamentals that promote original thinkers are three: effective knowledge, Shraddha, and power of concentration. So these are Swamiji's concept that you have two things. You have acquired knowledge and you have effective knowledge. Now, what is acquired knowledge? You pick up a degree, you go to school, you pick up a certificate, you go to college, you pick up a degree. But effective knowledge is mastery of subject, capability to apply it successfully, and respond creatively to new challenges. And the example we have of effective learning or effective knowledge is in the Mahabharata. You're all aware that Bhishma Pitama was lying on this arrows and he felt thirsty. So people around, ran with these golden vessels and water. And he said, no, my problem Arjun is going to solve. And Arjun was standing at a distance when he heard this. So he took out an arrow, he concentrated and recited the mantra and shot the arrow very close to his foot. And from there, water stream came out and it landed in the mouth of Bhishma Pitama. When this happened, Arjun had a doubt in his mind. Was Bhishma Pitama partial? Did he teach this only to me? So he asked Lord Krishna, is it that he was partial to me? He said, no, why don't you go and ask Pitama? So he went up to him and said, Pitama, were you partial to me? Did you teach this only to me? He said, no, I taught it to everybody. So he said, how come only I could respond with this? So he recited a Sanskrit shloka on the battlefield. Acharyat padamadhet padam shishyasya swamedhaya padam sah vidyarthi bhi padam kala kramenatu. The beauty about these shlokas are they're almost mathematical. This is actually mathematical. It says 25% of learning depends on expertise of teacher, 25% depends on capability of student, 25% depends on discussion amongst student, and 25% over time on practical application by student. So in this quest for excellence in education, I found this a very key element that one should aim at effective knowledge, not acquired knowledge. The next key element is Shraddha. Now there's no Swami Vivekananda himself says this, there is no translation for this word in any language. So what does Shraddha mean? Now Shraddha is actually a combination where both respect and faith is there. And we have our president in Dehradun, Nikhil Maharaj. He gives two very beautiful stories to illustrate what Shraddha means. He says that in a village, for the first time, the father is taking his 4-year-old child along with him to the barber. He's never seen shaving. So he says, this person putting the lather on the face of the father, so he's wondering, what is this happening? And then he sees that he takes out ustra hota tha at that time and, polishing on the leather. And then he starts. So, the child gets scared. Is he going to kill my father? What is he doing? So he's watching, and when he comes to the throat, he shouts, "Father, run away, he's going to kill you." Nothing like that is going to happen. So after the shave is over, he throws a 2 rupee coin to the barber. And the barber says, "Hey, this is not enough." "Theek hai." So he has faith, but he has no respect. The second story he tells is that in a college, the topic of smoking comes up, and the teacher is giving this lecture, and teacher gets very serious and concerned and says, "Look, smoking is not good for health. It causes cancer. It causes diseases. You should not smoke. It's very harmful." And you have campuses where after the class, the students congregate in groups, and the teacher is walking through, and the student is smoking. So when the teacher is walking past, he hides the cigarette. Now he has respect, but he doesn't have any faith. So Shraddha is when you have this combination of both respect, reverence, and faith. So to be the best in the world, we're talking of that now. And that's what Swami Vivekananda would say. Why aim at being the top in IIT or what? You should be the best in the world. And Shraddha is a concept that can make you the best in the world. So you need Shraddha in yourself, you need Shraddha in the teacher, and you need Shraddha in the subject. So what is this Shraddha in the self? Page 60. You all have this booklet? Page 60. Everybody on page 60? Second paragraph, Swamiji says, what we want is this Shraddha. Unfortunately, it has nearly vanished from India. And this is why we are in our present state. What makes the difference between man and man is the difference in this Shraddha and nothing else. What makes one man great and another weak and low is this Shraddha. So this much emphasis Swamiji lays on Shraddha. Now what does Shraddha in the self mean? Let's look at page 36. Page 36, same booklet. First, second, third, fourth paragraph. Everybody on fourth paragraph? आपको दे दें किताब? बालाजी और हाँ दे दी महाराज को भी दे दी Page 36, first, second, third, fourth paragraph. Swamiji says, never say no. Everybody has this? You don't know? Okay. Never say no. Never say I cannot, for you are infinite. Even time and space are as nothing compared with your nature. You can do anything and everything. You are almighty. See, you are on internet and you are far more savvy in that than me. So you will come across these stories. There's a Japanese girl who has no hands and she's flying an aeroplane. There's a Vietnamese without hands and feet and he's running a cycle maintenance shop. And there's so many examples where you have people doing what you consider as impossible, which is just proving this principle. And this was possible because, the Indian system did not divide knowledge into compartments. Knowledge was one continuum, Aparavidya and Paravidya. So this is part of Paravidya, supreme knowledge. And this supreme knowledge tells you that your basic nature is this. Infinite knowledge, infinite existence, and infinite bliss. And if you can tap this, and it is possible to tap this, then you can manifest what Swamiji is saying. And there are so many real life stories. People with polio legs winning 3 gold medals in Olympics, and people with a false foot winning several gold medals. And it goes on. The principle is this: never say no, never say I cannot, for you are infinite. So this Shraddha in the self is the key. The next is Shraddha in the teacher. See, I don't know about IIT Madras, but we also had hostels in Pilani and we used to discuss teachers and say, isko to kuch nahi aata hai. Now imagine that teacher has 24 periods and at the back of my mind, I have कि इसको तो कुछ नहीं आता है, तो what will I learn? So Shraddha in the teacher is not to give respect to the teacher. It is to create the medium so that learning can take place. Then Shraddha in the subject. Now this of course is very tough and we're part of a system. It has changed. From 68 it has changed. You have a lot of research, you have a lot of industry and this collaborations and scenario is not that same, but still even today largely the courses are ki B ke baad ME ke baad doctorate and the courses are designed like that. So relevance of courses to the life of the student or to what they are doing is very difficult. And I remember I did electrical engineering and we had this course magnetic field theory. And he was possibly one of the best teachers in the country, Professor Chaudhary. And you had a huge board, and I don't know what your scene is, but there must be huge blackboards. And he would start writing equations, and it will begin from one end of the board and continue, and somewhere in the middle say equal to, and then end. And here I am sitting and saying कि यार ये magnetic field कहाँ है? So this problem the engineering students face, whether you like it or not, this is part of a reality and this is a challenge which faces the educational world. How to make the subject relevant to the student. But you need Shraddha in the subject. And the example we have of this is actually Eklavya. See, he went to Dronacharya and said, please teach me this. So he had Shraddha in the subject. And Dronacharya said, Tum to Bhil Jati ke. I don't teach Bhil Jati, I teach Pandavas, these princes. He had Shraddha in the self. He didn't undergo a depression. So he came away. He had Shraddha in the teacher, so he made a murti of his. He had Shraddha in the subject. And at the end of the day, there was a dog belonging to the Pandavas which was barking at a distance in the evening. Eklavya couldn't see the dog. तो वो अभी जब ये चाणक्य हम देख रहे थे, so one saw कि there were what sound, ध्वनि भेदी bands. So he used that technology to shoot the arrows, and he shot 6 arrows and they entered the mouth of the dog and not a drop of blood fell, and he stopped barking. So when the Pandavas saw this and Arjun saw this, he knew this is the best archer in the world. So this is the power of Shraddha. And actually in the Shastras, they call Shraddha water. I mean, the example is you can have, sand, you can have cement, you can have some bajri, and you mix them, nothing will happen. You add water and suddenly it solidifies. In the same way, you can have the student, you can have the teacher, you can have the subject. If you don't have Shraddha, nothing exciting is going to happen. But if you have Shraddha, you can be the best student in the world. That possibility exists. So, we've talked about first, what did we talk about? What was the first concept? Effectiveness, effective knowledge. So the second concept is Shraddha. The third concept is power of concentration. Page 42. Page 42, last paragraph. Everybody on page 42, last paragraph. The more this power of concentration, the more knowledge is acquired. Because this is the one and only method of acquiring knowledge. Even the lowest shoe black, if he gives more concentration, will black shoes better. The cook with concentration will cook a meal all the better in making money or in worshipping God or in doing anything. The stronger the power of concentration, the better will that thing be done. This is the one call, the one knock, which opens the gates of nature and lets out floods of light. Second paragraph is also what we're going to read. How has all the knowledge in the world been gained but by the concentration of the powers of the mind? The world is ready to give up its secrets if we only know how to knock, how to give it the necessary blow. The strength and force of the blow come through concentration. There is no limit to the power of the human mind. The more concentrated it is, the more power is brought to bear on one point. That is the secret. See, to understand this, tomorrow is an examination and I'm studying. And suddenly my mind goes to Tendulkar ka chikka. Very good chikka mara tha usne. Oh, mummy is throwing a party. Who's coming in the party? Acha, what dress am I going to wear? Now I'm studying for the exam. Part of my mind is on the subject, part on the Tendulkar's 6, party and dress. The mind is divided. And when the mind is divided, it has no power. To give you an example, the sunrise in Chennai takes place around 6:30 and the sunset around 6:12. The highest temperature is reached around 5 o'clock. So in 11 hours, the temperature goes up from 20 degrees to 10 degrees. The same sun, you take a lens and you take a piece of paper, and if you concentrate it properly, within seconds, the temperature starts burning. What is the burning temperature of paper? Any guess? Burning temperature of paper? Excellent. Give him a hand. You see that in 12 hours, the temperature went up by 10 degrees when the sun rays are dispersed. You concentrate those sun rays, and within seconds, the temperature shoots up to 300 degrees. In the same way, when the mind gets concentrated, it gets phenomenal power. And we have several examples, but I'm only quoting 2 from the life of Swami Vivekananda. You see, he was in America, and you have this gun culture in America. Everybody can pick up a gun from the market. So some youths were practicing shooting. And to make it difficult, what they had done was they had taken empty eggshells, tied them in a string, and lowered that in a stream of water. So the eggshells would go up and down. And they were trying to shoot it as a target and missing. And Swamiji was watching and he couldn't help smiling. And you know the American youth's ego. Swami, can you shoot? So Swamiji thought for a minute. He said, okay, let me try. He picked up the gun and he shot each one of the eggs. The boys were shocked. Swami, how much do you practice? He says, practice? I'm a Swami. For the first time in my life, I'm holding a gun. The second example, he was in Belur Math and he had ordered Encyclopedia Britannica for the Belur Math library. And Sharat Chandra, his disciple, entered the room and there were 10 volumes piled up on his table. He says, Swamiji, it'll take a lifetime to read this. He says, lifetime? Some days. Days? Impossible. He says, you ask. In many cases, Swamiji could tell verbatim what the encyclopedia contained. So he says, Swami, this is an impossible feat. He said, no. And what Swamiji said is given on page 62. Page 62. Second paragraph. Do you see, simply by the observance of strict brahmacharya, continence, all learning can be mastered in a very short time. One has an unfailing memory of what one hears or knows but once. It is owing to this want of continence that everything is on the brink of ruin in our country. So this power of concentration is not a given phenomena. I mean, that's what Vedanta believes in. This training of the mind has been one of the greatest assets available with this country. And you can improve your power of concentration. And you've heard of the 3 monkeys of Mahatma Gandhi? See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. In Vienna, one monk of the order saw a sculpture where a monkey had one of his ears blocked, one of his eyes blocked, and half the mouth closed. So, what does that mean? Any guess? Excellent, give him a hand. He's on the right track. So, see no evil, but see good things. Hear no evil, but hear good things. Speak no evil, but speak good things. So, if you practice this consistently over a period of time, gradually the purity of mind will improve. What is the purity of mind? We are seeing that example. I'm trying to study, part of my mind is on the subject, part of the mind is on Tendulkar's six, part on the party, part on the dress I'm going to wear. So the purity of mind is 25%. If you want to judge your purity, what you do is put a paper and a pencil and an alarm, set it up at 12 o'clock, get up at that time and see what thoughts come to your mind and just write them down. You'll know what is the purity of your mind. कितने percent pure है पता चल जाएगा. So if the purity is 100%, then that's the kind of efficiency Swamiji displayed you can have. So if you improve the purity of the mind, and again the shlokas are mathematical. This is from Chandogya Upanishad. So concentration is directly proportional to purity of mind. And inputs, what Swami said about monkeys, ahar shuddhau sattva shuddhau dhruvasmiti. If what you take in through the senses is pure, then it calms the mind. A calm mind has phenomenal memory. So that's one way you can improve the purity of the mind. The second method by which you can improve the purity of the mind, see, we were studying this, what happens? My mind is on Tendulkar's six, studies, clothes and party. Now I must have the power to tell the mind, look mind, this is the time to study, come back to the subject. Now how do you acquire that? So I keep meeting students. I was talking to one student and said, what time do you go to sleep? Said, no time. If I'm seeing a good movie, I'll sleep at 2 o'clock. What time do you get up? Said, no time. If it is a holiday, I'll get up at 11 o'clock. What time do you study? Said, no time. जब मूड आएगा पढ़ लेंगे. So such a person, if you ask him what time you will concentrate, sir, no time. So regulated life. And this again, the Gita puts it almost mathematically. Yukta har viharasya, yukta cheshtasya karmasu, yukta swapna bodhasya, yogo bhavati dukkha. Regulated, fixed time eating, recreation, study and sleep removes sorrow resulting from ill health and lack of energy. See, it gives you two things, a regulated life. Actually, three things. If the time is regulated and you have to study time, the body, gets adjusted. So it anyway will get focused. And secondly, if you do a regulated life, then you have become habituated to telling the mind what to do. So you can tell the mind, look, this is not the time to get distracted. You better study. And the third, it gives you energy. You study this amongst the people that you know, that people who have energy have regulated life, guaranteed. And without energy, how will you concentrate? And the third thing that helps improve the power of concentration is meditation. So if you practice these three principles, put them in your life, your power of concentration will improve. So we'll do a quick recap of what we have discussed just now, because that brings me to the end of my presentation. See, as I said, this started as a personal quest when I entered college in 1967. And I was rattled with the atmosphere and my reaction to that atmosphere. And so what I discovered and what is of relevance is that you should be pursuing a line of study that you enjoy. When we had as parampara that when चाहे बच्चे का कुछ वो संस्कार होता था, so they would put books, they will put some mitti or they'll some different things they'll put, And what the pencil, different things to show ki what is the inclination of the child. So what he'll go and grab will indicate his propensity. And why this story is relevant is that the president of the Dehradun ashram, when he was a child, they had called two Swamis of the Ramakrishna order. So he crawled and went and picked up the chappals of the Swami. And the Swami said कि ये बच्चा तुम्हारा साधु बनेगा. I mean, he's not going to. So mother actually started crying. So if you do what you naturally are inclined to do, you are bound to succeed in that in terms of excellence. So that's the first thing. I mean, if I had done agriculture, maybe I would have, I don't know, done a little bit of research in that particular field. The second we found was that it's the environment. Now, as individuals, we can't control the environment. See, environment is given. But that's for educationists and thinkers and people who make policies, that you need to concentrate on enriching the environment. It should be a learning environment in which the teacher is the key person. And the students, why is he there? Is he there to grab a job, grab a house, a car, a wife, and 2 kids, whatever? Because if he's a sukharthi, then the environment can never be a learning environment. But this, as I said, as an individual, we cannot control this. But the other three elements are within our control. So, ensuring that I go in for effective knowledge, and I can tell you how it varies. See, as my biodata says that my first job was in Chennai, and I was an electrical engineer, and I was made, because my uncle owned the factory and there were a lot of transfers, so I became a chief engineer in about 6 months' time. And this chief engineer was handing over the drawings to me. And he told me कि ये channel है, ये angle है, and I'm looking, where the hell is this channel? And where is this angle? And I have attended how many hours of drawing work I had done. And I had to go to the library, and look up कि ये angle क्या है, ये channel क्या है. So, ensuring effective knowledge is in our hands. Ensuring Shraddha is in our hands. And ensuring concentration of mind is in our hands. And if I had this information with me when I was in college, my academic graph would have been definitely different. So this is what I want to share with you, and you're most welcome to ask any questions that you like.
So good evening, sir.
Yeah.
Very eye-opening session was that. I have one question that our parents were somewhat okay, but right now, they used to say that we have a lot of competition that youths are facing. So now they are looking much for the marks only, not for knowledge. So how we can address this? Because we need marks also to survive in this world, but we need to have the knowledge quest also. So how can we go through this?
See, there's something called a rat race. And when you get caught in a rat race, what is a rat race? One rat is running, so the other is running. Why are you running? Because he's running. And why is he running? Because he's running. So we are caught in a rat race. Let's accept that reality. I agree that there is no running away from the reality of marks. And it determines your first job, or your opening is determined by your marks. There's no doubt about it. But now I'm telling you concrete cases. From my batch, we had, I don't know how you do it, but we had the topper and the second and the third and the fourth. These were all known figures. So this particular person was the fourth ranking person out of 90 students. And the other person was possibly maybe 55 or something like that. And then after college, this person I'm not giving names because these are known names. So this 55 ranker got into IIM. So anyway, that changed the whole profile. But it actually happened that this fourth ranker was a sales manager in the firm in which the 55th ranker was the general manager. And this person had to leave, it became kind of a psychological problem. He actually had to leave that firm because, to be the fourth ranker and be a sales manager and having to report to a general manager possibly had the 55th rank was. So we have to look at this reality that there is a rat race. There is some substance to the rat race, not that it is totally a futile thing, but all is not substance. And I could give you case after case where people with passion have outshone everybody. Case after, there is really no dearth of that. That people who had a passion for what they were doing, and even if they did not begin with the Marx element, reached at levels which were of much higher, in any way, whether it's success, money, name, you name it by any criteria. So we as students or as individuals need to look at it rationally, and not just be caught with the rat race. So you can't give that as a... So if you rationalize it, you will find that ultimately the passion is bound to prevail. And we hear this very often, that it is better to be a first-class mason than to be a third-class engineer. It's a very important saying to remember. Because a first-class mason will be a blessing to his profession, will be a blessing to his customers, will be a blessing to his family. When he goes back home, he will be a satisfied person. And in fact, I'm forgetting the name, but on internet you people are very savvy. There's some boy called Maheshwari who has the largest number of images in the world in photography. And he's a big hit and he does a lot of these lectures free. He went into chartered accountancy because his parents or somebody said, this is a good thing to do. Just like I was told, tumhe to ye karna hai. And he came to him and said that, what can I do? I am so dissatisfied. So he said, what do you like doing? He said, what do you mean by that? He says, something you can do for 12 hours when there's no compensation, no reward, no nothing, but you still would love to do it. He said, cooking. He said, okay. So what can you do with cooking? So he said, I could set up a restaurant. Okay, so how will you go about it? So he said, calculated this much the land will cost, equipment, that I'll require about 45 lakhs of rupees. He says, how much do you have? He says, I only have 3 lakhs. He says, I'll take a bank loan. He says, banks give money to people who have money. They don't give money to people who don't have money. He says, why don't you set up a ready? He says, ready? I'm a chartered accountant. What will my mother, this thing say? What will my wife say? He says, if you set up a ready, you will grow to be something. You'll be a happy person. Right now you come home and you shout at your wife, you shout at your children. So it's a very critical thing. It is very important to look at this rat race element and analyze it. And remember that a first-class mason is better than a third-class engineer. हाँ जी
सर just want to ask that, okay, there are people actually who seek knowledge in their life and they work throughout their life so as to quench their curiosity. And then a huge number of people are actually using that knowledge to somehow make the life of other people comfortable. And the number of people who are in this second category are more. And this society also needs that kind of development in which the knowledge can be used to actually make their life comfortable. So, how relevant is this development theory?
Still, see, thank you. Very good question. See, this is the way nature works. That it'll build up a concentrated form of whatever, whether it's a skill, whether it is wealth, whether it is this thing. I mean, your membrane principle is that from a higher concentration, the flow will take place to a lower concentration. That's in nature. The capillary principle is that. So, the basic fact of the situation is that is how nature works. It will allow somebody to accumulate and then it will get distributed. So, this is part of how nature works. I mean, if you want to do water distribution, what do? You pump the water to a tank and then you have pipelines going to the various. So, that is how nature in any case works. So, that's a very fundamental principle of natural distribution that takes place. So whether it's knowledge, whether it's expertise, that's how it works. That's part of nature. Yes?
Sir, you address the fact that for the past 115 years there is no original thinkers from our country. But yeah, it is basically because I feel that there is something wrong with the system of education, and also you told about the rat race. And being in the elite group of the nation, of the education field, then don't you think we have to do something to change about the rat race in the nation? Because the future generations are also so concentrated in marks, and everything comes down to marks, that people who are really good at working, doing something, they are not addressed at all. I have had experiences with kids also, and it all comes down to like the creativity of the kids or whatever in everyone that is not appreciated. So can we do something to change about that?
Excellent. What a beautiful thing if this message goes through and each one of us tries to grapple with this, because each one, see, first is this Chinese principle. That means if the town is dirty, then instead of saying ki that house is dirty, that road is dirty, it's better for me to clean my house. So at least one spot in the city is clean. So in the same way, see, if I can't change the system, but whatever as I discussed just now, that if I can learn this and I can apply it, that I will not go in for acquired knowledge. I'll go in for effective knowledge. That's within my hands. So, yes.
The problem is, even if we try to go in for acquired knowledge, I mean, even if we try to go for the effective knowledge, the world around it is not the same in the same path. The society, it tries to pull down to something which is the acquired knowledge category, and most of us are going to struggle because of that. So I feel that yes, we have to do something from within ourselves. Each of us should change, and that's what you said. It is the best I think we can come up with, and also we have to do something about the collective aspect also. Because one person doing it, it will take a long time. It will take a very long time to address everyone, to manage with things.
See, you are youth. So youth wants quick results. That's the nature of youth. Very natural. But as engineers and scientists, you have what is called when the fission takes place and there's this chain reaction. And there's something called optimum mass. So the minute you reach the optimum mass, there's an explosion because the whole thing is going to explode. So we begin with this element of you do what you can. And when the critical mass is reached, then the explosion will take place. Okay? But anyway, I appreciate your impatience. That's part of the age factor.
Sir,
Yeah.
here, sir.
Hanji.
I have one question.
Please.
You told that energy is required for concentration also.
Absolutely.
But it seems that when we have too much of energy, for example, we have these three categories, sattva, rajas, tamas. So, especially energy means when you have too much of rajas. And it seems, especially for my case also, that when I have too much of energy, I can't concentrate. So,
See, I don't know whether I'm dealing with a realized soul. So if I'm dealing with a realized soul, then I have to bow my head to you and say, sir, you must be right. See, एक तो सत्व का रज होता है, एक तम का रज होता है, एक रज का रज होता है. Okay, Swamiji also had a lot of energy. And there are examples where he said, I am, bursting with this. And the examples given were when Swami Abhedanandji touched him. His entire journey, spiritual journey changed. He just touched him. And in the case of life of Swami Vivekananda, it is mentioned that when he was a child, he hit his head on one of the corners and he bled. And Sri Ramakrishna, when he heard this, he says, good. If he lost some energy. If he had all that energy, he would have, revolutionized the world. So what energy you have, I don't know. So, but if you have sattva ka agar raj hoga, you won't have the problem. I mean, that's my guess. I'm also a learner in this, and you may be advanced. Haji.
Sir, I have a question about when you said this Gurukula system where one guru is there, one student is there, and we compare it with the present scenario. We have a professional education system. So, in one sense, this when one guru is there, one shishya is there. So, what are the expertise of gurus that only will be conveyed to the shishya? But in present scenario, we have professional education. So various experts are in a university or at a center, and they impart. They are different. So the thing is that it is a better means in some sense it is better that excellence is there in the faculties of expertise. But what is so wrong that it don't work in the same way? I think you were mentioning. So what are the quick? I should not use the quick. What are the screws and what you can tight and loose the things a little bit so that we can channelize it well.
Very, very good. You see, you are from Haryana. That's what you told me last night. So Haryana people are Jugadu people. So what you want is a Jugaad. What is the Jugaad? She asked a fundamental question, what do you do to the system? Which part of the country are you from, ma'am? So, South is a little more systematic. I mean, Haryana has a lot of energy. So, it's good to know your state, it tends to throw some light on your temperament. तो आप जुगाड़ चाहते हैं कि नट बोल्ट कहाँ से टाइट कर दिए जाए. See, you're doing mechanical engineering? No. Achha. See, we must understand our position in society. I mean, I'm a very small person in a huge place. And it's very difficult to, put it in terms of mechanisms, as you have tried to say. She put it as systems, you want to look at it as mechanisms. See, society is a need-oriented. There's a need, and then society meets that need in a certain fashion. And the society has the knack of utilizing the most efficient resources and systems to meet that, in many cases. In many cases, it can be wasteful. So that's a big study and a big this thing. But what I thought is relevant today, like I was saying that what were the problems that I confronted when I was a student? And what have I learned in these 25 or 27 years, which I can share with students and see that how you can benefit. So we had this global meet in BIT for the first time. IITs have it quite regularly, but BITS organized the first meet. And I had gone to participate in that. And I met an old student who was there, he was 10 years my senior. That means I cleared 72, he cleared in 62. And he said he had been to BITS Pilani, and he said every third room had a bottle of whiskey. Now I try to think on my time. That means he went recently. That's about 2 years back. So in 72, when I was there, possibly our hostel had 250 rooms. So maybe 2 bottles of whiskey in 250 rooms. And he's saying every third room. But even then, at that time, these were the priorities in the hostel. Pornography, liquor, gambling, drugs. So this is apart from Sukharthi. Now Sukharthi means that you don't want to utilize this immediately to generate money and name and fame, This is a further degeneration of Sukharthi. I mean, what word to use, I don't know. I don't have that much Sanskrit control to even coin the word. So what are we talking? That here is a universe. I mean, I don't know about your college, so I'm not making any comment, but I know about my college and I know about my education, that these were the priorities. And nobody told me that, look, young man, this can be the possibility that you've entered this educational field, and if you expose yourself to these disciplines and this thinking, then you can be the best in the world. And what you're doing and what the result of that will be, you will know, because cause and effect in any case will apply. So I thought that it is serious enough to take this message to the student community. That look, this exists. You belong to a society which has excelled in every field. And they excelled in every field because they formulated certain systems of personal behavior, group behavior. Group behavior, as we are discussing, we cannot control that. There's a flow that is going to take place. I mean, Swamiji in Dehradun gives a very beautiful example ki if you are caught in a ship and that's caught in a whirlpool, then that ship is going to rotate. Now, whether you like it or not, you will have to rotate with the ship. So certain price you have to pay to belong to a community. There's nothing you can do about it. But within that shaking, there's a lot you can do. So let us do what we can do, rather than think about what we can't do. See, so whether it's a mechanism, uska nut and bolt tight karna, whether it is a system, but we don't have control on that. But I have control on my behavior. I can ensure, I jolly well could have ensured that when that chief engineer told me this is an angle, I would see the angle. And that I could have controlled. There's no doubt if I've attended 2 years of mechanical drawing, then I jolly well could control that. I could jolly well control the aspect of Shraddha. Instead of sitting in the hostel and saying, "Is teacher ko kuch nahi aata hai," and not realizing, you stupid fool, it is you who's going to lose, not the teacher. Teacher ko kya hoga? And if I could have improved my concentration, then obviously, my marks, I mean, Swamiji, your marks would definitely improve. There's no power on the universe that will not happen. And the habit pattern that you acquire, you will start, because what you're doing, see, what happened was that religion became mumbo jumbo. एक टिका लगा दिया, एक आरती कर दी, एक तीर्थ कर दिया, एक व्रत लगा लिया. No. Religion was to tap the strength that is within you. Tap the excellence that's within you. That's what religion was all about. So that's what Swamiji actually came for. That look, you have strength within, you have excellence within, you have systems by which you can manifest it. So this is a process in that direction. Ji, any other question? Yes? Ji.
I have a question. Actually, it is nothing related with the things which you spoke about right
You're most
now.
welcome. Any question?
But I had this thing in my mind for so many days, and I just wanted to ask you to an eminent person, and I found you right now. Actually, if you take in any college, there is a kind of reservation system for entering into it. I don't mean only the students, but as well as the staffs. The lecturers who are entering into the college, they also have some reservation system that the forward community people must have 85% and the backward community can have like 70%, and the SC/ST students or SC/ST people's professors can have only 65%. And my question is that this kind of a people with 65% and 70%, all anyways they are entering into the college. I don't know why they are with the less marks. Maybe they enjoy a lot during their academy, or they just spend the time lavishly. Once they just enter into the college with just 60% of the marks and 70% of the marks, how can they just help the people or the students who are just coming to them with 100% of the knowledge? When they don't have the knowledge, 100% of the knowledge and the interest in their studies by themselves, how can they just help the students who just wanted to, like a quest for the knowledge and who just wanted to learn the things 100%? All the students cannot go to IIT to get the eminent professors. But this has happened in India. I don't know whether the reservation system is needed for the student community or not. But what I feel is the reservation system should not be there for at least the teaching community. This is what my question is.
See, I agree. I mean, what you're saying makes a lot of sense and it's all quite rational. I have no disagreement with you. But as I said, there are a lot of things which have a lot of history, a lot of politics, a lot of factors which are involved. And these are givens. See, these are givens. Just like your body weight, the color of your skin, your hair, these are givens. If I say कि भाई मेरे तो बाल होने चाहिए, well, I can think of that, but I don't have it. So there are certain givens which you have to accept. And even if you want to look at it philosophically, Vedanta says it is the infinite manifesting. So when the infinite is manifesting through the body, it has to adapt, it has to adjust, and it has to accommodate. So we just have to take the givens and work through the givens. I can't change the givens. I can't change the reservation system. But I can change my response to that. I may have a teacher who's not as good as I'd like him to be. But if I have Shraddha, see, when you say you respect the teacher, what they said was you respect the receptacle of knowledge. The teacher is a receptacle of knowledge. Patra. So you're respecting the receptacle of knowledge. If you respect the receptacle of knowledge, you will be able to get the knowledge. So in the same way, you are also receptacle of knowledge, because knowledge is within. If you respect that is Shraddha in yourself, then you will be able to get that knowledge. So what we are trying to say is that don't worry about the system. I can't do anything about it. They say what cannot be cured must be endured. But what I can tackle, why the hell should I not tackle that? Rather than bother about what I can't do a damn thing about. Why waste my energy on that? Okay, sorry, but
Many of us would definitely would like to know the your workings in IQF and your outreach to students of various grades and how they are responding, and then what are the value system that you are including in the education system currently.
okay. Thank you. Uh, See, Indus Quality Foundation is an organization that was started by R.S. Pawar. He is right now chairman of NIT, and Vijay Thadani, who is also chief executive officer of NIT, and some friends of IIT Delhi. They are all from the 72 batch. And R.S. Pawar and Vijay Thadani had come in contact with Phil Crosby, a management guru of USA, and they were very impressed by his approach. And they imbibed it in their lives and in their organization. And they thought they'll market this. So they set up an organization called India Quality Limited to market the management philosophy of Phil Crosby to the corporate world. And to generate the market, they set up an NGO called India Quality Foundation, which was supposed to work amongst politicians, bureaucrats, parents, and students. So, as target audience, the bureaucrats, the parents, and the politicians were not available. So, students were available, so they started working with students. So, from 95 to 2000, they were taking this philosophy, and amongst the students, Phil Crosby had certain principles of how to have zero defect. Quality is defined it as zero defect. So, what is it called? Fishbone diagram that they use in management. So, basically, cause and effect, and certain principles of how you could improve the quality of education in schools. And then somewhere around 2000, my path and IQF path crossed, and certain situations emerged, and they said, look, why don't you do something for IQF? And after a lot of reservations, because NGOs have a reputation which is not very nice, so I felt that I had great reluctance, but they said, okay, we'll ensure your basic adherence to the principles of NGO operation. So that's how I joined IQF, and IQF got hijacked by Swami Vivekananda. So in that process, we first developed a personality development CD. We could give you copies of that. That's not a problem. I'll send it to the... where, we thought that let's take the basic principles of Swami Vivekananda on personality development, and we deployed that in workshop format. That means we would show the CD and then have interactive sessions, handouts, book sale, and we reached out to about 3.5 lakh students in 21 cities with that CD. Then we found that CD is only one message, and you can't have one message for everybody. So that's when Nikhil Maharaj entered the scene, and he said कि एक ही टोपी आप सबके सिर पे नहीं लगा सकते. So then we started developing modules for parents, for teachers, and then we came across a challenge. A school approached us and said, can you, because what is happening in schools is that the girl-boy problem which was there in the 12th came down to 11th, then 10th, 9th, 8th, and the school didn't know what to do. So under guidance of Nikhil Maharaj, we took up this challenge because IQF didn't have the expertise on how to handle a value education program where you train the teacher, you design the contents, and I thought it wouldn't work. Because you see, the schools are there to make money. So we had 55 students packed in a small room, and Premji Foundation says that if the student-teacher ratio is 1:20, then maybe optimum retention, comprehension would take place. And when the number starts increasing, if you reach 55, it becomes 2% of the optimum. So you have 55 students packed as sardines. The parents want marks, teachers want marks, students want marks, school wants marks, and this is not a board subject. Value education is not a board subject. Who's going to learn it? Then you're given one period in a week. So one period in a week means 30 minutes. Week has 10,000 minutes. For 9,970 minutes, they will be exposed to the same influence. So how are you going to bring transformation in them? So I was actually very despondent. I said, this will not, but it worked. And it worked because Maharaj had a very powerful strategy. He said the teacher has to be mulakati, jamaati and karamati. That means the students must love to meet the teacher. The message has to be solid. And the teacher must be ready to solve each and every problem of the student. And the teacher has to be a practitioner. If the teacher says, Sach bolo, and the teacher is telling lies, this program will not work. Where do you get teachers like that? But anyway, by God's grace, we got, and we've been working on this for the last 4 years with remarkable success under very adverse circumstances. So that's one thing that we are doing. I mean, we have developed modules for class 5, class 6, class 7. We were fighting with the school to give us your senior classes. They said, time nahi hai. Board exams, we don't have time. Suddenly, they had some episode taking place and they got rattled. They said, from tomorrow you start this for 8, 9 and 11. So we normally wouldn't do that, but we thought, who's going to lose out? The students. So we said, okay, we'll start from the day one. So we're right now developing modules for 8, 9 and 11. So that's one area that we are working in. Then in Delhi, this is what we are doing in Dehradun. And then Maharaj felt that, look, this is a huge field. You need to do research, you need to do training, you need to do extension. So he begged for money and we got a room there, some place. We got 4 people, so we want to, make this more systematic. The modules, the research part of it. So that's what we're working on in Dehradun. In Delhi, we do workshops and we conduct events in on-the-spot painting, street plays, recitation, various competitions we organized amongst schools to spread the message of Swami Vivekananda. So this is basically what we are doing in IQF.